Hi folks, my name is Chris. I am the founder of employee wellbeing company Innerfit and talking to you today about managing wellbeing through constant change. This question of how do you lead, set an example, role model, help your team and your colleagues and the people around you feel well and work well. It's a massive challenge at the moment. We're seeing a lot of conversations around anxiety, around stress, moving back to work and really thinking about your situation, I suppose. A successful outcome of this little snippet of content would be for you to feel better equipped to lead when it comes to the well-being of your team through these uncertain times. So I know as a founder, as a leader, it can feel a little bit like you're out here sometimes. You're on the front line trying to figure things out, solve the problems, and with that comes a level of responsibility and a burden sometimes. So it can't always be that easy to feel well and work well. That's the number one belief at Innerfit, by the way. If you feel well, you work well. And so it follows that if you feel well, you lead well. And if you are feeling that pressure, feeling the stress from above and below, it's not always easy to do that. So my invitation to you through this session, we're going to share a few key principles, 3 tips / techniques, will be to just take one positive action off the back of this. And perhaps that can start right now. I'm going to ask, how are you feeling? I'll just go quiet for 15 seconds. Maybe it's frustrated, maybe it's angry, maybe it's stressed, maybe it's happy, maybe it's great. Just take 15 seconds to reflect on that. For me, it's kind of a mixed bag as well. Some days it's going to be good, some days it's going to be bad, and that's okay. We'll come back to self-reflection in a little bit because it's one of these tools. But what if we're always able to feel well, or at least a lot of the time feel well? What if we had the tools and the knowledge and the attitude and the skill to actually lead a team to well-being through everything that's going on at the moment? What an amazing thing that would be. Your team would feel motivated, they'll feel energized, they would probably feel resilient to change and capable of figuring stuff out. So that scenario, that world, I believe, begins with putting your own oxygen mask on first. As a leader and anyone in the team, this idea that if you put your own oxygen mask on before helping other people, it's the single most important thing you can do. So if you take one thing from this presentation, this session, the capacity to put your own health and well-being first, in the belief that that will benefit your team and it will benefit you, would be an amazing outcome. And now, putting yourself first, I think we need to energize ourselves. So before we go into the 3 top techniques I'm going to share with you, let's just get some energy into that body. So slouching reduces lung capacity, reduces energy and performance, can have a negative knock-on effect on everything we do afterwards. And that's important if you're a leader. So let's just do 10 simple backward shoulder circles. We're just going to invite a little bit more air, oxygen, blood flow around the body, and you can do this with your team. It's a nice icebreaker at the beginning of a session just to make sure people are engaged, are in tune and listening up. So now we've got that done, I'm going to share with you just a few ideas. 1 is around self-reflection, 2 is around self-awareness, and 3 is around self-regulation. So I believe that these 3 things, when it comes to leading well-being through change, are really, really important. If you can do these 3 things well and consistently, I believe you're going to be leading a high-performing team that feel well and work well. So let's think about that 1, self-reflection. We already did a tiny little bit of it when we're thinking about how we're feeling. I do self-reflection at the end of every day now, thanks to a leadership coach. 10 minutes at the end of my day is protected for self-reflection. Pen and pad come out and I address 3 things. So I have what, so what, now what. And they can be really big things, they can be really small things. But as an example, what might be, had a really good call this morning with the team. So what would be, that happened because we tweaked how we started the session with an energizer, and the now what would be, try and do that again. So there's one idea on self-reflection. What, so what, now what? And the next would be to just reflect on where you are in that change curve. Some of you might come across this before, it's the Kubler-Ross change curve. And through the last year, we may well have started some days in denial, some months, some weeks. Anger might have cropped up, and then you kind of go through this phase of acceptance, and then on an upward trajectory towards taking action and really taking control of the situation. So have a think maybe about where you are on that change curve right now. Okay, number 2, self-awareness. The idea that understanding the impact your behaviours have on how other people feel, really important. To be aware as a leader of that is crucial. And if you're stressed and if you're anxious, if your chimp, as Steve Peters would call it in the chimp paradox, is overactive, is hyperactive, you're going to be more short, you're going to be more aggressive potentially with colleagues and a bit more snappy. So the awareness of yourself and your behaviour, really, really important. Okay, tip number 3 is around self-regulation. This management of state, it's the ability to have self-control really and regulate yourself, your emotions to the betterment of other people. So as an example, let's take food and energy levels through the day. If you eat a good breakfast, a good lunch, snack well, your energy curve is going to be a bit more stable, limiting the caffeine, etc., sleeping well, moving through the day, all helps you feel well and work well. So yes, those 3 ideas: self-reflection, self-awareness, and self-regulation. I believe if you can do all 3 of these things consistently, you are going to be feeling well and working well, and you're going to be leading a team well when it comes to well-being. So that was all putting your own oxygen mask on first. If you can do these things for yourself, incredible. Now you're in a good place to think about the team. So before moving on to that, just enjoy the idea that there are things working well for yourself, and you might already be doing these things: self-reflection, self-awareness, self-regulation. So what is working well for you right now that you could do more of? Just have a little think on that. You can pause the video by all means, by the way. Write down, pen and pad, what is working well for you right now in those things? And if you'd like to, what small thing could you improve? Okay, let's think about the team. So you're in a good place now, you are feeling well, you are working well. What can you do as a leader to help those around you? I believe it comes down to a few different levels. You think about it, everyone in your team is an individual. A team is an individual, a group of individuals. So really, they need to put their own oxygen mask on first as well. So how can you facilitate that? Well, it's things like giving them the time to reflect and inviting them to understand that their well-being and health is important as well. So sharing individual, getting to know people individually, like what does well-being mean to them? What does well-being really mean to them? And it's going to be different for different people. Financial well-being might be really important, spiritual well-being might be important, food, sleep, etc. I suppose the question then is, how much do you know about the well-being of your team? Really know, like how much do you really know about the well-being of your team? And if we take this idea again of reflection, where are they in the change curve? We discussed the Kubler-Ross change curve before, going from denial, anger, acceptance to taking action. Where are they? And wherever they are, what can you do to help them move just one step along? Can you help them get to the next stage, ultimately progressing through into a good place? So if we think about that at an individual level, it's just what I said, it's understanding where they are when it comes to their own well-being, what well-being means to them, and if there's anything you can do to help facilitate that individual's health and well-being. So if you know, for example, someone loves going to the gym at 3 o'clock because it breaks up the day, make sure you don't book meetings at that time. And so on and so on and so on. So individuals as part of a group is the team. Now let's think about the group as a whole. So what can you do as a leader to really facilitate a culture and team ethic of well-being? A few ideas have come to mind recently. It is simple stuff like starting meetings by asking everyone how they are. Maybe there's a nice little tool called Triumph Trivia Trauma that we've used recently. Triumph asks people to share something that's gone really well, perhaps in the context of their health and well-being. Trauma, something that was a little bit more difficult this week. And trivia, just something interesting about them. So it's also stuff like starting your calls with energizers. It's having calls not on Zoom, just walking. If you can avoid Zoom or Teams or whatever the medium is, then that's amazing. get on the phone and go for a walk. I know people, and myself included, walk about 3 hours a day. So I suppose from a group perspective, there are tools you can use. Just ask you to think about what your role is as a leader when it comes to well-being. I won't answer that for you, I've got ideas, but it's for you to decide what your role is as a leader when it comes to well-being, and perhaps related to that question, what impact are you having on the well-being of your team? Again, hit pause by all means, get a pen and pad out, because these are not simple questions necessarily. I think if you can get them right, there's massive value up for grabs. So, as with any Innerfit session, we'll conclude by just sharing an invitation to take one positive action from today. I really hope that some of these principles have been useful for you, I hope you've enjoyed it. Ultimately, it's been a waste of time unless you do something differently to move forward. So, if there is one positive action you could take right now with regards to the well-being of yourself or your team, please grab a pen and pad, write it down, and if you would like some accountability, if you're the type of person that is more likely to do something when they've told someone they're going to do it, then get in touch with us. We're big believers in accountability. We've got the exhibition stand as well. So let us know what your action is, and we will be happy to hold you accountable to that. You can get in touch to me personally, chris@innerfit.co.uk, or just the more broad team, hello@innerfit.co.uk. Good luck.